All right, and welcome back to the Below the Rim podcast. Per always, I am your host, Jacob Lieb. I have the rest of the giggly starting five here today: Alex, Michael, Brian, and Ian. Coming off a somewhat anticlimactic but very interesting NBA Cup final yesterday. Any thoughts, feelings, or emotions, fellas, watching that game?
It's hard to win if you don't make threes. And I couldn't decide at like halftime, were they just, the defense was so good? I was like, no, they were getting open shots and Thunder they were not making any threes. If they literally, what was the final score in 81-97? If they made five more threes, which is above on their average, they would have been right in the game.
Was it a young team that had been in Vegas too long, big moment, just kind of one of those nights? Were the Bucks doing something different? What do we think? Was it a combo of the both?
I didn't watch the entire game, but for the portion of the game that I watched, it seemed like they didn't have a good answer for Giannis. Like they don't have a great, not that anyone really does, but and I think they were missing some length from Chet for sure. But a couple possessions, you have like Jalen Williams guarding him, good defender, like not a small guy, but he would just took his time going over, around, like kind of whatever he wanted to get. And once he gets that rhythm going, he starts just stampeding downhill like I don't even know what animal he's like, but you can't stop him. Like, don't even bother getting in front of him. So.
I've always gone with like gazelle crossed with a gorilla. Just like a hybrid of those two.
Because he's more powerful, than like a typical like galloping, animal. So I like that. He's definitely some gorilla.
I like the thought of I kind of forgot about the nights out in Vegas. Like maybe Caruso spent too many nights at the strip club because he couldn't hit anything. It was a lot of bad shooting. To me, my reaction was the Vegas weekend was like a nice reminder that Giannis is clearly the second best player in the NBA, and I think there's a healthy drop off after him. I have a big picture question. We'll circle back to me. I have a big picture question about Giannis and some MVP talk.
I think my general reaction to that and to your point, Alex, like, was it a better win for Milwaukee or a worse loss for OKC is sort of where I landed. And I actually thought it was a better win for Milwaukee. I think there was a couple of things that happened that were really important for them. I actually thought the way that Dame and Giannis played off of each other was by far the best that I've seen from them all year, right? There was a couple of really nice Giannis drawing to quick kicks to Dame hitting threes, requiring them to step out back to Dame Giannis pick and roll really working well. It's like, for me, that actually, in like a higher stakes environment, seeing the two of them play off of each other in a really successful way on the offensive end, that was, I thought, huge for Milwaukee. Then the other thing, which I think is important to acknowledge, is a little bit matchup dependent, and I actually think Milwaukee might be the worst team for the Thunder to play against, especially without Chet, because Brook was able to just play drop on Hartenstein the entire night, and it just put all the onus on the Thunder to just shoot threes, right? Because Brook and Giannis in the paint, even somebody as talented as Shea, right? Like, that's not an easy finishing opportunity. So your best looks are going to be kick out to the corner, and I think it just shows that the Bucks, right, like, stick to your DNA. If somebody's going to beat you, they beat you. But I think playing the way they wanted to play defensively, right? High press on the perimeter with a couple of guys, in Gary Trent Jr. and AJ Green, as well as to an extent, right, Dame and who's their other starter that I'm spacing on. Not important, but and then having Giannis be kind of the differentiator at the rim. Like, I think it was a really nice win for the Bucks, and I think at the right matchup they can do a lot of damage.
Jacob, I thought your point about Brook Lopez as well. I was also really impressed with him on the offensive end. He still has found a way to be impactful. I don't even know how old he is. I feel like he's been in the league for about 25 years, and he is really continuing to make an impact on both sides of the floor.
36.
Yeah, okay. So he's been about 25 years. And if I were to see him at Disney World, he would have as much enthusiasm. And I find that to be just as engaging as his basketball play.
If we were doing a draft of NBA players you'd most want to hang out with, he would absolutely
Are
be
him
near
and
the top.
Robin a package? Because that would be laughs.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I might get stepped on though, so I don't know if I had both of them.
They,
Not to sound like a total downer, but I hate the NBA Cup. That's my takeaway. I do. I think I was really looking forward to this final and the semifinals because I think that those four teams are great. Like I don't know if I could pick four better teams for a semifinal at this point in the season. The TV product was very good. I thought the coverage was solid, even for ESPN, who I think has been having just terrible coverage of the NBA for a long time. It reminded me a lot of the bubble NBA coverage, and I think the reason for that is the crowd was terrible. I mean, the crowd is so not into the game. It's like a vacation spot for people who are like, oh, what should we do in Vegas tonight? Oh, like the NBA Cup final or semifinal. Like, let's get tickets on StubHub as like a fun thing. The fans of like Milwaukee and OKC, great fans. I'm not dissing the fans, but like they have what 3 days to figure out how to travel for this game. It's like it's kind of ridiculous, and so you have a bunch of neutral fans there, which I don't think is a good environment. And it reminds me of a lot of like kind of gimmicky places where they've had games in the past. Like when we were in college, they did the Carrier Classic.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that? Where they played like college games at the beginning of the season on the aircraft carrier. So cool to watch on TV, but it's all like servicemen and women, which God bless them, great people, I'm sure. But that's not who I want to see in the stands at like a college basketball game, and it's the same. It's the same way here. So I have a couple of quick solutions for this issue because I recognize, based on Commissioner Jacob back from a couple of weeks ago, Vegas is not going anywhere. Like Vegas is going to be the hub for the NBA, and so what can we do about it? One, I think we take a page out of the NCAA tournament book and we play this in an NFL arena. I think we like stack the Raiders stadium with 50,000 fans, 60,000 fans, and to get those fans there, the NBA needs to intervene and get people from the cities that make the NBA or the NBA Cup final and get them to the game. Like reserve the entire upper deck, whatever they want to do for NBA fans of these teams to get into the stadium. I think that makes a huge difference. It makes it way more fun to watch. The players will get more jacked up for the crowd. Like I think that would get me more excited about it. Because on the court it was a good game. I agree with everything that's been said. It was very fun to watch, especially the first 3 quarters, first 2.5 quarters. And so, yeah, I think we just got to find like one way to get these fans more involved in person. Like I think that really like jacks me up for the playoffs when you see like some schmuck with his face painted and like kids losing their mind. Like that's just not there in this like current setting.
I actually was talking to Alex about this before we started. It was played at the T-Mobile Arena, which is where the Vegas Knights played, which is built solely for hockey. It's not built for basketball, which is why because I had the same exact takeaway. I'm like, why the hell are they so far away from the court? Why can't I see a fan?
Yeah.
It looks like video fans from the bubble, which I think was exactly your take as well. I was like, I don't believe that there's actually anyone even in there. And I think that's the reason, which is why, to your point, right? That's why they want to build an NBA stadium for basketball in Vegas, right? Because otherwise you're left with options of like playing at the MGM Grand in front of like 1,200 people, pseudo similar like a tournament in Vegas, or home and homes, right? Not in Vegas, in different cities, things like that. Like I was actually saying, maybe do it in LA, in the Clippers new stadium, right? Like basketball Nirvana sort of vibes. But yeah, I completely agree from like a television viewer perspective. It felt dead from an energy and an atmosphere point of view.
Okay, I have one more proposed idea. So this is taking a page out of the American F1 series. Build a court on the strip and play this game outside.
Oh wow.
Like the weather will be fine. and get these guys playing street ball in the street on the Vegas Strip. I think it would be an unbelievable television product. And I mean, I think that would get people pretty excited.
Ian, I will say, playing outside affects your shot so much. From a entertainment standpoint, yes, but these guys have $200,000 to $500,000 on the line, and personally, I hate playing outside. I mean, I love it because basketball's fun. It's my favorite sport in the world, but I drive a lot more, and I can't shoot the mid-range or the three nearly as well. I think it affects the game too much to play outside, but I love the idea. But that's just a personal, from a court perspective.
What about the sphere? Can you fit a basketball court in there?
So Alex, I had the same exact thought, and I was Googling that. I haven't seen any good reason why, but a lot of people online are saying that they don't think that would work. But I love where your head's at. Because I thought the same thing. That would be sweet.
Because there's a stage, right? And then there's all these fans kind of this way, and you can't go 360.
Maybe we do a diamond style court and really go 4 baskets, put all the teams out there, summer camp style, and just see what happens.
Kind of like that. But another little takeaway. Oh, sorry.
No, I insist, Michael. Give us your takeaway.
I was going to say a very different takeaway. And I don't know if this is goes against all things that Chicago sports fans believe in. Watching this game, I think that Dort is a better defender than Alex Caruso, and I don't know if that's yeah, we all agree that's like 100%. But I was more impressed with him than Caruso, who's a fantastic defender. Fantastic. I feel like Dort is a little more athletic, a little thicker, a little better on the offensive court, part of the floor. And I don't know what you guys thought. I want to hear your opinion there.
He's thicker, for sure.
I thought Caruso was bad.
So
I thought Caruso was bad all night. I actually thought, like, both on the offensive and defensive ends, right? Defensively, he took risk after risk after risk, trying to hop passing lanes, kind of got himself out of position regularly, got the Thunder into rotation. I still think he's trying to find his role with this team, right? Dagnall's rotations are a little bit weird, like between Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, and really the three of them. You don't really know who's going to play on a night-to-night basis, right? Like some days it's a Cason Wallace day, some day it's an Alex Caruso day, some day it's Isaiah Joe day, and like to me that would be really hard joining a new team and trying to put my stamp on it, because I totally agree with you, Michael. On the ball, even off ball, rebounding, etc. Caruso just hasn't been the same level of impact that he was when we were seeing it.
I mean, in the first round of the tournament, Lou Dort was given Luka fits. Like, I've never seen Luka so uncomfortable. So I think you nailed it.
But speaking of impact, the one other comment I wanted to make about the Thunder, and then Alex, maybe we go to you for your big picture take. I wanted more Jalen Williams, and I think it's time for us to kind of expect more and demand more of him if he wants to be measured in the breath, right? And I know we talked about him as an all-fun team member, but there were too many times that Jay was off the court that he was too deferential in like really big moments. When going against most second units, when Giannis isn't on the floor and Jalen Williams had the ball, he should be putting his head down and getting to the cup, either to dribble, pull up, right, get to the hole, dictate offense. And I found he to be too passive in those moments and trying to play more within the flow versus dictating terms. And I think that if the Thunder really want to compete in the upper echelon of the West, he needs to have a better sense of those moments and know when to dictate terms, because it can't be Shea for 48 minutes a game. They just can't sustain that. And the other guys, the guys we've talked about, the Dorts, the Joes, etc., they're going to have nights where they don't hit shots, and they need it has to be Jalen Williams as the guy that knows when to go and seize the moment and more. So my whole thing is I think he's great. I loved the moments that he did assert himself, but I think big picture, he needs to really ascend to kind of like a Kyrie level number 2 to Luka, right, for the Thunder to really achieve. And I think we should start measuring him to that as success versus kind of just appreciating the growth of him as a player.
You know what's so
Yeah.
interesting? I agree, but he shot 20 times.
I want
you know
more.
what I mean?
Yes, I have the same takeaway that the thing they're missing is like a clear number 2 go get a bucket scorer. But I didn't think it was attempts. I think it was just ability, at least in
Sure.
that game. Like, I don't know if for this season, maybe we'll talk about it later with trades. I don't know if at this point, like, because they're championship ready outside of that one hole. So is it a Jalen Williams filling that spot? Is Chet the number 2, or is it something you trade for? But they have all the pieces outside of that. But it was very clear that they didn't have a second guy that can go get his own.
And the only last note I will say on that is like the calculus probably does change with Chet on the floor, because I think it makes the job for everybody else easier, including Jalen Williams. Right, Brook Lopez can't just like hang out in the paint. Right? You know, Chet's going to be on the perimeter, just using this one particular matchup, right? In terms of changing the dynamics and tilting the floor. I think he's a really critical player, and it is championship or bust this year for the Thunder at this point, right? Like that is the measure of success. So I think we're gonna see who he is, right? Is he a number 2, or do they need additional help?
I mean, of all the teams that we've said in the last like decade that are championship or bust, I feel best about them in the sense that they can't really bust. Like they have so many assets to build and get things moving for the next couple of years.
What the fuck are you laughing about?
I said bust, like pretty emphatically. So it's true.
So
it's true.
immature.
I think that they'll be able to make the moves they need to bust, and they'll be fine. They'll be fine. I don't think it's championship or bust is basically what I'm saying. I think that it's championship or make some moves to get them there, but I don't think it's like they're very far from a blow it up situation.
Totally fair. I think maybe poorly said, maybe intended to be a measure of success for this individual year is win a championship or not, right? I think even progressing to, a Western Conference Finals and not making a championship would be measurably non-successful, not bust. No busting.
I agree.
We're in one piece.
No bust.
Can I ask a question? I'm curious if anyone does anyone think this matters for rest of season? NBA, what happened in the NBA Cup or in Milwaukee?
I think it matters a lot more for the Bucks than it does for the Thunder. Like I feel like the Bucks have been on a great trajectory, and I think that this like cements them, their core, and like having faith in Doc Rivers to like bring them to where they need to be for the rest of the season. I think this is like really big for them, which is why I predicted them to win 3 weeks ago, whenever we did that. 4 weeks ago.
Good job, Ian and Jacob, on your predictions.
Oh, I thought you picked you picked the Warriors to lose to them. That's right. Yeah, we had it. We had it down pat. We understand the history of the NBA
We're
Cup.
scholars
the
of the
long
game.
storied history. Yeah.
Okay, the question I wanted to pose yesterday got me thinking. So the last 6 years, our MVPs have been big guys who initiate offense. So the past, so we had Jokic, Embiid, two Jokic, and then 2 Giannis. It got me thinking, watching Shea versus Giannis, it's going to be really difficult for guard to win MVP. Not necessarily this year, but I feel like with the way big guys are controlling offense and the amount of assists that they're getting and the amount of usage they have, how does a guard compete for MVP when guys like Giannis and Jokic are averaging just as many assists as a guy like SGA is?
I think it's a great point. I think it will end up being somebody that is positionless that plays a guard more so than somebody that would be true, right? Like I think the most likely person to upset that mix would be Luka, in terms of somebody that is similarly ball dominant, I think the more macro point, right, is like wherever the primary usage is coming from is the only people that qualify, right? You really got to be the engine driving the machine, and that has to be like one of the top three machines in your conference for you to, even qualify right at this point. So I think to your point, more robustly, Alex, is they were also, I believe, the top three seeds all of those years, and then had very similar statistical seasons in which their team had less success in subsequent years, right? So I think it's like, I think the recipe for somebody that is not that big or playing a pseudo center role would have to be a Luka or an Ant, high usage, 30 plus usage, team is top three in their conference. And then just like a new fun narrative because we don't like stale same shit over and over. But I can't imagine somebody that is a true guard, right? Like, coming in as like a CP3 type point guard per se. In the next, 10, 15 years of the NBA getting back to that mountaintop.
I
Right.
think it's defense though too, right? It's like Giannis is unbelievable at defense. And we also Brian's stat about Jokic with the deflections and all that. He's a good defender. It's easy to identify, or at least from an eye test, see that a big guy can be a rim protector compared to a guard. You have to be like, we know Ant's a really good defender. We know Luka's not. It's very. I think defense also comes into play when talking about guards versus big men, and I think it's easier to identify quickly a big man, good defender.
I'm also just looking at this historically, like going back to the 50s, there just aren't many true guards, like especially if you take out Michael Jordan. Like you have like Magic Johnson, like you have like LeBron if you want to call him a guard, but I mean basketball is a big person's game. Like you always have an advantage, but like to your point, it's also style of play, the era we're in where everyone does everything.
Yeah, I mean, to Brian's point, I think the only two guards that I can really remember in the last 15 years or not guards but point guards are Westbrook and Derrick Rose. Like I can't even think before that.
I don't know if we call Curry. Yeah, Curry.
Oh, sorry, you're right,
Yeah.
Steph. But my point was going to be with Steph and with James Harden also, who's a guard, one MVP, is they truly change the way their opponents play when they're on the court. They're like really have an effect on the game, and I think that's kind of what Brian's getting to with the big guys, like Jokic, Giannis, Embiid. Like they truly affect the game in ways that kind of change the entire process by which teams prepare for them, as opposed to James Harden, who's going to be like an elite scorer, or SGA, who you know kind of what he's going to do. He's got a great skill set. Like a guy like Jokic and Giannis are just affecting the game in a lot of different ways.
I want to give a shout out
Interesting
to
point.
Next Level NBA. They're an awesome account on Instagram. They do got a lot of great visualization of trends each year. And one that I stumbled across was they plotted points per game in losses and points per game in wins on an X and Y axis. Right? So if you think about it as you kind of go up the linear line here, that is the people that are the most consistent in points per game in losses and wins, and the farther out you get, that's the more points per game. And there's a really interesting kind of, I would say, like quadrant slightly under the line in the upper right hand corner, which are high scorers that score a little bit more in wins than they do in losses, right? Which I think is a general representation that they are the engine that powers their team. And the four guys in that group, the one that is by far the farthest out is Giannis, not surprisingly. Next is Jokic, then is AD, and then Tatum. So I think it does a really good job of demonstrating guys that when they are consistent, they score a lot, but when they score, that is a direct indication that they're playing well. And then I found it really interesting that there's a couple of guys, to the upper left that have much higher outputs in losses, right? And this does
Bradley Beal.
Well, I think there are three that are on the chart primarily, and it's Donovan Mitchell, Luka, and Jaylen Brown. And like, I wasn't surprised to hear that a lot of their true scoring outputs are a little bit empty, right, in terms of the actual impact on the game, and that those three guys, their teams are actually better when they're scoring less, right, and they're actually, they win more when they're actually facilitating broader offense and worrying less on usage. So I thought it was like a really interesting graphic to dictate exactly that, point, Alex, which is the guys that are actually driving winning basketball through scoring plus other contributions all happen to be big guys, and then plus Tatum, who's not, I think, is 6'9", right? Pretty large dude in and of himself.
That's an interesting stat, Jim.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to unpack there. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say Derrick Rose and Steve Nash. I just wanted to give them their love for the guards who were MVPs.
Allen Iverson too.
Yeah,
I was looking at Steve Nash's MVP stats, and it's just funny to.
We're sharing the screen.
Listen,
Excuse me?
we're trying something new here today, but yeah.
We're not trying to break the
Multimedia
internet.
podcasting,
Holy
but
cow.
I thought this was an awesome visual,
Unbelievable.
and again, shout out to those guys because they do a great job over there. But really, this was
We see
this is the area.
Are they
we
paying
see
for
your
a sponsorship
boy
spot?
RJ Barrett.
Yeah, listen, overperform. Yeah,
Is that RJ
overperforming in wins. Doesn't do great in losses.
MVP.
So one of those really interesting graphics. Obviously, like the guys that fall on the line are adequate performers, right? They're consistent, but really high performing scorers and wins were the ones that really stood out for me. And it happens that I would say those are probably, and you got Shea hiding back there as well. These are probably the four leading contenders for MVP right now, in terms of Shea, Giannis, Jokic, and Tatum. Again, really an interesting representation of points per game performance. So I know we've gone.
I'm enamored.
Like, listen, multimedia. Let's break the internet, as I believe Brian said.
Are you only allowed to do this, or can we?
We'll
do this
discuss
as well?
rules of engagement at a future time.
I meant like literally, like can I?
Like do you
I
have the
got
ability to? I actually have no idea. I have a button that says share at the bottom of my screen, so I'm not sure if you do. So
I see that as well.
I don't. This
You're
is
on your
fun,
phone. That's
Jacob.
why.
yeah, listen, come prepared. You can always get a little bit weird with it, just not too weird. But let's get back to the NBA Cup here a little bit, and I think that'll be our first segment of the day. So just to run through the quick agenda, we're going to first do a little bit of a draft. I know great feedback from our listeners. Really love our draft concepts. Got a lot of action on the polls that we haven't put out yet. So, really have appreciated that engagement from our users. But today I want to go ahead and draft from the final four teams in the NBA Cup and put together a starting five from all of their players. So you can go starters or bench. And the little bit of a rub is we are awarding bonus points for team chemistry. So if you pull together three players from the same team, that'll give your team a little bit of a bust. I'm just kidding, bump. As it relates to overall performance. And we really want to think about, how this draft then represents our evaluation of talent. And is it chemistry that got these teams here, or talent? And is there a deficiency in talent perhaps in some of these teams? So I'm gonna be the host of the 2024-2025 NBA Cup team draft.
Give us the trivia.
There's Jalen Brunson.
Oh,
We
Hey.
can do it. We can do it.
wait, is that me in the background?
Brian, is that your jersey that he borrowed from when you were a Stevenson Patriot? point
I
guard?
feel like we've created a monster.
I'd like to say yes, but I 15 was a number that I have worn, but if I'm being honest, probably not.
Listen, a lot of people on Twitter have been saying Jalen Brunson's nothing without you paving the way.
I took my practice jerseys and gave them to him to clean. So more stories for a different time.
I
but.
catch like Mike 3 in theaters near you as we progress. So we'll kick off the draft. Then we'll do a little soapbox segment. I got some things to say about some teams in the Western Conference Finals today, and then we'll wrap it up. Our favorite holidays coming up. Santa has fueled up the reindeer, packed a sleigh, and we all have wish lists. We've definitely all been naughty, so I'm not sure if we'll get what we asked for, but we'll go ahead and ask Santa for a little bit of a stocking stuffer this year. So with that, I'm just gonna go ahead and assign order based on what I see on my screen.
Wait. There's no trivia.
We're just gonna jump right into it.
I'm pretty.
Before I have absolute anarchy on the pod. So I was gonna go with Brian first, but because he spoke out of order, we'll assign Ian the first pick here today, and we'll go Ian,
That's
Alex,
massive.
Michael, Brian in that order.
That's fine. I'll take up the rear. Let's do it.
I get third. Oh,
Dude, I got fourth, man.
no, I know.
I always benefit when Brian's naughty. That's just the
No
truth.
comment. I'm not going to dispute that then.
Yeah, I'll take Giannis. This is the easiest pick of any draft possible.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't even really need to explain. I feel like we covered him enough in the opening segment.
All right, I will take SGA at number 2.
No.
Yeah, at number 3, you do get kind of screwed.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was not happy about. You hear the sirens. That's how I feel. Dang. Okay. Wow. You picked my top 2, surprisingly. Wow. So I'm just gonna talk out loud. I almost want to pick Trae Young, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Jalen Williams.
Oh, Jalen Williams. This is an interesting turn.
Is he going to take the double point guard? Talk it out. Talk it out with us.
That's the question. I was 100% expecting you to take one of Dame or Trey. Would have made my decision really easy.
Because I get to pick the one that you don't pick.
Wow.
That's
or,
next
or,
level.
or I take both of them.
Yeah. You don't
Okay.
get that at a Hampton Inn
Listen,
Suites.
your defensive rating would be like 147. If you
I know I
put
can't
both of
do
them on the court
that.
together.
It doesn't support
Must
the
bet
brand.
is
It doesn't
Yeah,
support
that's
the
barbecue
brand.
chicken right there.
Yeah, you're our defensive specialist. You can't do it.
Fuck. Let's do. Let's do.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, buddy.
I'm gonna go Dame Dalla, and I'm gonna do. Wait, can I take Chet?
You
or
can
are
take
we doing,
anybody.
Like,
Shots on the tip.
all right, I'm taking. I'm
This
taking
is how you
Chet.
know I'm not a member of this draft, because I would have probably taken Jalen Johnson with the 3rd overall pick. So that's the bias showing
So
that.
you know how we're getting points for chemistry? We're getting chemistry points. So Chet's very injured. Does that play into
That's
maybe
why-
the chemistry he might have with anyone?
Yeah, he might be.
or-
We could give him some rusty points. I'm not sure he's going to come out and play to his peak potential
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Okay.
He's healthy in our books. Okay, boys. Any questions you can ask.
So, okay. Trey.
All right.
Trey Young.
So we got no teammates on the same team so far. Very interesting.
All right, I am going to take Jalen
I love
Johnson.
it. So I think
I got nothing to say
I think
on
the
it.
other
Go ahead,
observation I
Jacob.
just wanted
He's
to
your
make
guy.
so far is we're now that's pick 7, right? And we have 0 Rockets pick so far, which I think is a very, very appropriate indicator of just the lack of top end talent on that roster, and why I think as we progress closer and closer to the trade deadline, they are going to have to make a move, because I think that they're destined to be bridesmaid, never bride, if they continue to think that they can just wait and develop their young talent to come to the surface.
Yeah, you always need a 1. They maybe have some good 2s and 3s, but yeah, they need a 1 on that team.
So, Ian, are you taking a Rocket?
Well, more on that. More on that later. Yeah, I'm gonna take a Rocket. I'm gonna take Şengün. And now things are a little challenging. I feel like my team could go one or two directions. Do I want to not allow anyone to score on me ever?
That's one way to
where
win a
I'm gonna
game.
go. I'm taking Dyson Daniels.
I
like that.
That's very on brand for this podcast. Double D's,
Like that.
You know, we love them.
Bring them out.
Michael, go ahead.
Wait, am I up?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, well, I can't. We're in public. We're in public.
Okay. Ooh. All right.
Wait, where are we? Are you picking twice right now, Alex?
No, Ian just did the double,
This
and
is-
now it's me.
Oh wait, who was your first pick, Ian?
Giannis.
Oh, Şengün.
I took
Sorry.
Şengün and Dyson Daniels.
Sorry. Yeah, rub those hands, baby.
I'm between two guys.
Talk it out.
Yeah,
give
why
us
don't
your
you
thought
talk about 'em?
process.
Yeah, I guess this is a podcast. This is for the listener.
Just pull back the curtain a little bit, you know?
Okay, so I'm looking at Brook Lopez and Isaiah Hartenstein right now.
Yeah, two big
Hartenstein's
men.
got the chemistry with SGA, so there's a bump there. But
Is it that much chemistry though? They haven't played that many games together.
it's a good point. They got that little pocket pass into the Hartenstein floater that I think is an incredibly difficult shot that
He makes it look so
at a
easy. I was
very
thinking
high
about
rate.
how I would love to have that in my bag. Like, for me, that would be the exact shot I need. And if I tried to do that, I'd throw it over the backboard.
But it's
The
the
touch
floater
is
that he
incredible.
doesn't jump. He doesn't jump. It's the craziest floater I've ever seen. Are you allowed to
arc.
have a floater without jumping?
It's wild. I'm not going to take him. I'm going with Brook Lopez for the 3-point shooting and the defense.
He's somebody that every time he shoots a three, he thinks it's going in, and I love that about him. Like, you look at his body language, and he does like a little. He doesn't move all game. He shoots a three, and he does like a mini hop jump, like he thinks it's going in, and it's great. Irrational confidence for a guy who's 7'2", chucking up 3-pointers.
Also, a very underrated celebration with
Yeah.
3 teacup. Love that. So classy.
Wait, who's
You.
up right now? That's what I thought. Okay. I've got 2 guards. So I'm again, because we're a podcast where you're supposed to talk. Oh, also, did you guys know that podcasts are called podcasts because of the iPod? I didn't know that.
I didn't know
Neither
that.
did I.
It's education for me.
Was that a Snapple
Yeah.
fact?
That's an interesting.
No, that's a Michael fact.
Oh, a Michael fact. Yeah, throw a little IP on that sucker.
Yeah, no, I feel really good about that. Well, now, so at my 2 right now, I've got Jalen Williams. So if I go Hartenstein, or Trae Young with DeAndre Hunter, who actually continues to impress me every single game. But I need a big man, and I don't think there's enough other big men. I'm gonna go with Hartenstein.
Puts me in a tough spot, Michael. That's what I was going to take. I don't really love who's left, and I feel like Jacob's really screwing me right now with this last pick.
You
So
did it
I
to
have-
yourself, pal.
I don't
Thanks for the
make
support.
the rules. I just enforce them. If we don't, what are we if we're not?
No, I think you
Oh,
do
that's
make the rules. I
That's
think you
right. I
actually
do make the rules.
Yeah.
It's a good point. I forgot about
It's-
that. Yeah, I guess I do. I
Yeah,
love
you do.
every moment of it. Don't get me wrong.
So, I have Chet and Dame, so I feel like I don't have any huge holes. Got my rim protector, have my point guard, got my outside shooting, so I can really go anywhere. I think I'm gonna go. You know what? Let's just stack it up. Let's go all hurt team, all team that didn't play in the NBA Cup. Let's go Mr. Middleton, and let's go Mr. Bobby Portis.
All right.
We're gonna have to disqualify this
Listen,
guy.
I love the team chemistry bump there. We got $3. You know, you're leaning.
Yeah,
They-
we talked
they
about
won.
it. You know,
They
Let's
won.
Get it.
They
won.
They're the
Yeah,
champions.
They won the NBA Cup.
Do
Let's go.
you,
You better have a good
So-
bench, Brian.
what do we think about the fact that the Bucks played their best game of the year without Middleton?
I did think that was interesting.
Is there any?
I think that's only a good thing. I think it's only a good thing to come. I mean, if Middleton can come back healthy, he'll be able to help. I mean, you were trying to remember who the last starter was. It's like Andre Jackson Jr. or something.
Torian Prince.
He's like,
Torian
you
Prince.
find
who was
plug-
I thinking?
Oh, Torian Prince. But whoever it is, a healthy Chris Middleton is an upgrade. Although Torian Prince is shooting the 3-ball really well this year.
That he is. Easy cheese, guys. DeAndre Hunter. Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome.
So you got the Trey DeAndre Hunter connection, Michael.
And the Jalen Williams Hartenstein. So if we're talking chemistry, and as if I'm the coach, can you imagine how much chemistry Alex did? He just rolled his eyes upward.
I'm looking at my list. Sorry.
No, you're not. Thank you for that, Alex.
All right. So right now I'm working with SGA at the point, and I got Jalen Johnson and Brook Lopez at the 4-5. So what I'm looking for now is 3 and D. I don't want to be the team that can't hit threes. Not a lot of options left. Honestly, I really liked what I saw out of Gary Trent Jr. and AJ Green yesterday, but the sample size is small.
Surprise pick. Surprise
sample
pick of the
size
day.
is real
Sponsored
small.
by Snapple.
Screw it. I'm going chemistry on the defensive end. We're going Lou Dort.
It's very
SGA,
Okay.
Lou Dort, defensive backcourt.
interesting. I think I would have gone to another Rocket there just to chime in. Just you play Monday morning quarter. What was it? Monday morning quarterback. Yeah, I believe that's correct. I think Jabari might have fit that role for you. In terms of a little bit of the 3 and D with some more length, a little bit more upside in athleticism. But I see the torture chamber there as well. I think a little bit different profiles, but Jabari gives you a little bit, probably more offensive upside.
Jacob, did you just come up with the Dorcher
No,
changer
I think
right
it's
now?
a Richard Jefferson
Yeah.
nickname.
Okay, I would have been really impressed.
Well, I'm winning this one pretty easily, I think. I've got Giannis, Şengün, Dyson Daniels. I'm missing a little bit of three-point shooting. I'm missing a lot of three-point shooting. And I'm missing some scoring.
So your
But-
team's not that good. After further
The defense is unparalleled. And so to complement what I already have, I'm going with full chemistry. I'm taking 3 Rockets. So I've already got Şengün. I'm going with Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. to round out my roster. So I've got a backcourt of Jalen Green, Dyson Daniels. I've got Jabari and Giannis kind of interchangeably at the forward positions. And then I've got Şengün, big man in the middle. And I think I absolutely whooped you.
I feel like Jabari Smith doesn't really get talked about, and not that he's like this amazing player. I mean, for the record, I still think he has some untapped upside potentially, but I think he's a good player in the NBA. Like, he's got size, can play big, can play down a little bit. I like that. I like that pick.
It's my number one frustration with the Rockets is the whole, like, he touches the ball so little on that team. And, like, it's enough's enough. Like, they need to trade some of those guys just for the reason of, like, getting him and Tari Eason more touches. Like,
right, because he was a top 3
third
draft pick, or
I mean, between Fred, Jalen Green, and AP, they just like it's vortex up for the basketball. Right? It just doesn't.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you brought up Tari Eason because I feel like, despite their size differences and like their positional differences on the offensive side of the ball, they're actually like very similar players, and they're used about the same. Tari Eason like is a bit more efficient and like controlled in his game, but I think maybe playing devil's advocate to what you're saying, Jacob, I agree that like they need to move on from some of these guys to get them more playing time and like see what the actual core looks like. But a guy like Jabari Smith, who's pretty young, obviously still, and is really struggling with his efficiency, like it's kind of nice that he's able to hide on a team, like a good team too. So, I mean, I think like if we're talking about stock over the next 3 to 5 years, like he would be up there with a lot of the other guys that would probably be in the same tier and pedigree.
I agree. I think my dream would be to see him play at the 5 with somebody that could come in for certain matchups. I think that would just unlock him because I think he actually is a pretty natural defender. He's super fluid and a pretty good 3-point shooter, but he best positions like at the elbow, right, in terms of like catch, turn, and go to work. Almost pseudo like the Evan Mobley element of like him being asked to play the 4, even though Evan Mobley is probably more of a natural center. But I'd love to see Jabari play a little stretch 5 and be able to run and gun with some of these teams.
You know, Ian, you won the lottery getting Giannis, but I think you dropped the ball going Şengün instead of Brook Lopez, because I think the high-low chemistry yesterday was really beautiful to watch between Giannis and Brook, added with the 3-point shooting that Brook provides, along with the defense. Right now, I think I'm sitting with the best defensive team. My issue is that my only real knockdown 3-point shooter is my center. So we're going to go Taurean Prince to round out the 5 as just a spot up, high percentage 3-point shooter.
So recap your 5, Alex.
I got SGA at point. We got Jalen Johnson at the 4, Brook Lopez at the 5, Dort at the 2, and Taurean Prince at the 3.
I'd pay some shekels to see those two teams go at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be counted out here, so I need a forward, and I feel like we were just talking about him. I'm gonna go with Tari Eason, and my 5. Let me just highlight that because I've been highlighting my team in green, and then all your teams in yellow, and my green looks pretty good. At the point guard, defensive stalwart Trae Young, Jalen Williams at the 2, DeAndre Hunter at the 3, in this case, Tari Eason at the 4, and Hartenstein at the 5. And the more I say it, actually, it's a well-rounded team. Jacob, I don't know how many shekels you pay to see my team, but I feel pretty good about it. But yeah, having the 3rd pick sucks because like Giannis and SGA, and then there's a huge drop-off.
Yeah, me and Michael got
shellacked,
pounded.
You know, and I didn't even do anything. Brian did something. I didn't even do anything. That's the thing.
I mean, like I was talking out of turn. Yeah, like Michael is just an innocent bystander.
And I complimented your hair, Jacob, and Ian's hair. No one complimented my hair. It's just like, how did I get the 3rd
picks
pick?
for 3 old fashions. You know, that's just the number of drinks is where you fall in the lottery. That's how it works.
They were good.
So I'm the last pick here, right? So besides the fact that I got absolutely shafted, and I'm mad about it, it's weird to be sitting here looking at 2 guys who I really love, and I'll have to like not pick one of these guys, and they're going to go undrafted. Maybe as an undrafted free agent, I can work some magic and sign one of these guys. But I'm looking at my boy Van Vliet and Sir Alex Caruso, and I would love them both. Are we going 6 guys? Is that what I just heard?
Why don't
Brian,
you take 6 since you have 2 injured guys? You could have 6.
Perfect.
You still
Brian,
only have
say
4
your
guys
four
on the
other
court.
Like I have to field a team, right? Like
Hey, Brian, can you say your 4 other guys before you make this pick? I want to judge before you make the
Yeah, Alex Smith. No, I'm just kidding. Dame. I got Dame, Chet, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis. I think I would go Alex Caruso also for some bonus points for same team, but I would go Van Vliet with my 6th pick since I'm getting a 6th pick.
Lovely job.
Caruso is the choice there for your 5.
I do feel like my team is not as good, but my team is very well rounded and there's lots of chemistry. So if those chemistry points are like more than I'm thinking, I could maybe stack up.
Listen,
It's easier to build team camaraderie when you're sitting on the bench chit-chatting over popcorn.
we did a quick power rankings including chemistry, and there was 2 tiers of teams. Alex, Ian, and Michael's come in the first tier, and then Brian, your team came in the second tier.
Who's in?
As it relates,
I'm
you have
in
your
the
a
last
tier of your
Oh,
own
that's
as it relates to it. I don't know if it was
Interesting.
due to your drafting or your pick, but I think there was a couple of games that were just disqualified from an inability to field a roster. So I think it was a great effort out there by you guys, but playing with 3 or 4 didn't go so well in the actual standings.
I think that's overrated. I think, like Alex said, team camaraderie could even be boosted more if you're not playing. 'Cause it's hard to like have a good conversation while you're playing. So while you're not playing, you can be better friends.
Respect that.
Yeah.
Wait, really quick sidebar. Alex, you mentioned popcorn. I ordered for an appetizer crab cakes tonight, and there were 2
Very
crab
good. cakes
in Cajun popcorn on the same plate as the crab cakes. Is that normal?
What state are you in, Michael, for the listener? And for
I'm
me?
in South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina.
Great
Is that normal? Because it wasn't to me.
Never heard of it.
Popcorn with your crab cakes?
That's not normal, but I'm intrigued because the consistency or like texture of crab cakes is soft, voluptuous. It's almost like
Keep going.
Keep going.
it's almost like you're making out with it. and then the popcorn is like nice and crunchy. So like if it was just like a little bit and they're just like pizzazzing it a little bit,
No, it was like a half popcorn, half crab cakes.
that's too much. Then they're just trying to be cheap. Popcorn's cheap. Crab cakes are expensive. Tell them to F off. Those cheap bastards.
Yeah, I just. Sorry for the sidebar. It just Alex, you said popcorn, and I didn't know what else to think.
Actually, popcorn is going to be featured in our Santa Claus section, so stay tuned.
Listen,
No part.
Sponsor,
What a
not
transition.
sponsor. Red Bull popcorn.
Orville Redenbacher.
Jacob, red whatever. Yeah, Jacob, is it soapbox
Yeah,
time?
I'm
Or
gonna
we're getting soapy?
Take 2 large steps up because for somebody my size, you really have to work to get to the top of the soapbox. But now that I'm up there, I want to talk a little bit about the Western Conference, and I want to highlight 4 teams and use them as, in my eyes, a representation that a lot of the times it's not just talent that drives success, but really kind of how organizations approach the season, tops down. So I think the 4 teams that are a great microcosm of what a good organization looks like and a not good organization are the Memphis Grizzlies, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Sacramento Kings, and the New Orleans Pelicans. I'll just start this by saying, obviously, I would say the Thunder is the kind of gold standard diamond organization recipe of success of this. I think that's too low-hanging fruit. Clearly, from like an organizational development, growth of players in-house, identifying and drafting young talent, understanding the value of picks, like Presti, Dagnalt, the G League organization, all of it gold standard, right? So like I think they're above and beyond the best. But I think I think that's pretty obvious, right? Like even this year, they're actually leading the G League in record, and they have a bunch of guys like playing over their skis. So putting the Thunder aside, I think these 4 teams are really interesting because they're all at really different places, but the players and the actual talent comprised, I don't really think are all that different from the actual like talent level of the roster. So right now, Memphis is 18-9, the Clippers are 15-12, the Kings are 13-14, and the Pelicans are 5-22. So of those teams, you would assume that somebody like Memphis, right, would be the healthiest, right, or maybe playing the worst strength of schedule, or might actually have gotten breaks in terms of playing against injured rosters. The 5 guys for the Memphis Grizzlies that have actually played the most minutes this year, this is total minutes, not per game, right? Total minutes on the year, there's only one guy that starts for their normal rotation, and that's Jaren Jackson, who's second on the list with 706 minutes. Santi Aldama leads the team with 716 minutes played. Third is Jalen Wells, right, who was a second-round pick last year and has now gone on to be a regular rotation guy for them. Fourth is Jake LaRavia, and fifth is Scottie Pippen Jr., right? Scottie Pippen Jr., previously discussed, was a undrafted free agent.
First overall pick in our draft last week.
Undrafted free agent on the Lakers practice squad, went unsigned after a year on the practice squad or G League team, and then is now on a two-way deal, will be converted to full-time on the Grizzlies. It's a perfect representation of a team that knows how to set up organizationally to succeed. I think if you compare that to the 6 leading minutes players on the Kings, who are a number of games behind them so far this year in the standings, De'Aaron Fox has played the most, Keegan Murray's played the second, Domantas Sabonis has played the third, DeMar DeRozan's played the fourth, Kevin Huerter's played the fifth, and Malik Monk has played the sixth, right? Those are their 6 top rotation guys. And it's not like the Kings have played, this like unbelievably impressive schedule, right? The Kings actually have the 4th easiest schedule to date so far in the Western Conference. They are 6-3 against losing teams and 7-10 against winning teams, right? So they are an overall record 500. They're underperforming. They're only winning games that they're supposed to be winning. I watched the Kings and Nuggets as an example the other night. And the thing that popped off of the screen was the offensive talent was there, but the Kings did not know how to get a stop when it mattered. And it wasn't for a lack of athleticism or guys that don't want to know. There clearly is a system in place that prioritizes offense and does not prioritize defense. And I think that those two differences of a team like the Kings, and I haven't even got to the Pelicans yet, but a team like the Kings and a team like the Grizzlies have very similar levels of talent, but one is coached from the G League level to when they're there, that rotational success is predicated on not just being able to score, not just getting up and down, but the contributions in the way that they play defense, the way they match up in transition, the way that they pass the ball, the defensive screen or the screen assists, the deflections, the energy, the night in, night out. That is like from day 0, right? And I think that's where the Kings came up as kind of a fun team and have maintained the mantra of, oh, we're fun, we're up pace, we're offense first, so we're good enough. But the Grizzlies have set up from day 1 to be, we are going to be the tough, hard-nosed team no matter what. I think it just like shows the drastic difference from teams with similar talent that prepared to be ready for everything and can actually overcome things like injuries and challenges throughout the year versus a team that any sort of when anything goes wrong, right? When there's any adversity, they're unable to overcome it because they only win one way, and that's by scoring more points than the other team. And I think I would take that example to the next 2 teams, which I think even continue to paint that point even further, which are the Clippers and the Pelicans. So the Pelicans this year are the worst team in the Western Conference. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, no doubt about it. Their leading players this year are Yves Missy, Brandon Boston, Brandon Ingram, right? But who's only played 595 games. Javonte Green, Jerome Robinson Earl, totally get it. Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, right? So like once you get down the list, they're there. But they're all playing around 500 minutes versus, if you were paying every game, you'd be paying around 800, 900 minutes to date. James Harden's played the most minutes for the Clippers. James Harden's a great player. After James Harden, it's bench guys, historically, right? It's Norman Powell, Amir Coffey, Derek Jones Jr., Ivica Zubac. This is a team that lost Paul George for pretty much nothing. Their best players sitting on the bench, and they are filling these voids with guys that are role ready, willing to come in and actually play within a system and a role. They aren't just acquiring talent and putting talent on a court and saying, hey, just go be talented. They're acquiring guys that fit certain roles, and they're playing a brand of basketball. And albeit it's not our favorite brand of basketball, which is James Harden pounding the ball into the ground all the time, it's a defined set of roles, and there's expectations of the players to play in those roles. And that's tops down, right? That's from Ty Lue. That's from ownership. Here's the expectation of what this looks like this year. Versus you have the Pelicans, which is we have no fucking idea where we want to go as an organization. We don't know what's happening with our star player. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know if we're trading Brandon Ingram or not trading Brandon Ingram. We traded Dejounte Murray because we're trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound by just getting more talent versus actually figuring out who we want to be as an organization. So my holistic point with this is I think a lot of the time and I think as Bulls fans, we do this sometimes as well, we attribute success to a lack of talent. And to an extent, there's definitely that, right? Like, I'm not saying that the Brooklyn Nets should compete in the NBA, right? But I am saying there are teams that are able to stay competitive year after year and find ways to position themselves to be championship ready because they have the right infrastructure in place, define roles and responsibilities, understand what those look like on the court, and then go ahead and deliver those night in, night out. And those are not always the most talented teams in the NBA, and I think it's playing out very much to that in the Western Conference. So that's my soapbox. Focus more on getting the right philosophy, infrastructure, tops down, starting at GM to coach to player development to obviously ownership. Put that in place first and feel confident on that and give that set of people the runway to go ahead and deliver results. And I think that is the recipe for success. Obviously, the Thunder is the perfect example from a coach going from the G League now to the bench, right, and continuing that through. But I think there's recipes where we see it working throughout the rest of the NBA, and we need more of it. And we need more of that and less organizations that are kind of in flux without that talent all the way through.
It's crazy,
Beautiful job.
Jacob. What's crazy, Jacob, is that this is like, the NBA is obviously the top league in the world, and it's like, how do you not have 30 teams that are just focused? Like, there should be more top executive talent, I think, in this league, to your point. Like, the Pelicans are really terrible, and they've had injuries. But, like, why isn't there 30 executives doing what Sam Presti's doing? There's got to be 30 guys in the world that are as smart and intellectual and have, the forward thinking that he does. It's just shocking to me that you see such a discrepancy in the best league in the world. Like, such a discrepancy. Like, we all know, like, the Spurs, it's separate from what you were talking about. The Spurs, the Heat, there's just teams that are better managed than others, and it's like, why? Everybody wants to be an executive in the NBA. It just doesn't make sense to me. So that is just my takeaway there.
I think one thing is also like player fit and roster construction. Like you're talking about the Kings they score a lot of points, not necessarily an elite defense. It's like you look at that roster, like they don't really have a stopper versus like the total opposite is like the Boston Celtics, where it's like the perfect construction, like they fit together like 6 nice puzzle pieces. So I agree with what you said. I was also thinking about roster construction and roster fit, players playing their roles in the right way is also being like a a factor in that as well.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's why I give Ty Lue so much credit. I think he is what he's done this year. I think with the Clippers is really really impressive. Like
He's a great.
There's
coach.
no
Yeah,
reason
he's a
that they
great
should
coach.
be above 500, right? Like, and I think like he put his players in a position and coached them up in the offseason to be ready for this, and they've kind of prepared and executed. And there's a world that Kawhi comes back in March, and they're close enough to the 7 or 60 to actually be a threat in the playoffs. And I think like those types of coaching contributions, like he has Norm Powell ready to go up and be like arguably a top 20 scorer in the league this year. Which like Norm Powell was a cool energy guy off the bench in the past, right? And on the right, he knows the right night for Zubac, and he knows when he needs a quick early pull and go smaller, right? I think those ways and understanding your team dynamics, and it's not just we play one way and we always play that way, but a coach that actually can get the most out of his team, and a team that can actually buy into that philosophy on a night-to-night basis. That's the organizational kind of flexibility and dynamics that I think really make a difference.
Yeah, I thought when you were talking, I thought the interesting parallel is comparing the Pelicans to the Clippers because they both have that star player question mark. We don't know how long he's going to be out for in Zion and Kawhi. One team's able to fill in the gaps and figure out a way to win in a different format, where the Pelicans are just kind of leaving that gap of not having Zion as a big question mark. And
Right,
never being able to-
and I would say New Orleans, even without Zion, the players on the court right now, like the Pelicans, probably have more raw talent than the Clippers do. And so, to your point, like that's just a testament to coach, organization, kind of the structure that they bring night in, night out.
I think you could make an argument out of the four teams, maybe not the Grizzlies. You could make an argument that the Pelicans have the most raw talent, excluding availability.
There's a lot of talent on
like
that.
just pedigree guys between DeJounte, Bi, Zion, and up and comers, and Herb and Trey.
Yeah, Trey
like,
Murphy.
That's
yeah.
upside is tantalizing.
CJ.
Yeah,
CJ.
CJ is like a sixth man. Jose Alvarado, like from a roster perspective, that's where I
A lot
like.
of talent.
I think I struggle with the alignment element of it, right? Which is clearly there's a point where there's not buy-in to play a winning brand of basketball, and I don't know if that's at David Griffin. I don't know if it's at the coaching level. I don't know if it's because Zion isn't held accountable. But there's something missing from an organizational dynamics that have been unable to take what is obviously a collection of good basketball players and put them together to play in a way that's successful.
I think you have to put some of the ownership on the players as
Sure.
well. I agree, a lot of it goes on, the organization, but it's a players' league, and there's obviously something missing there as well. Injuries, obviously, but there's some lack of buy-in, or who knows? Like, you wouldn't know unless you're in that locker room, but.
Every player knowing their role and their role on the team and what they're supposed to be doing, offensive and defense, like who's taking the last shot, what are we trying to do out of timeout. You can obviously, when you watch a game, you know when a team is playing together and for each other, and when you know a team is playing for themselves. I mean, it's very clear. And you're right, Jacob. It's an organizational responsibility to say whatever player on each team is supposed to be doing what at specific points in the game, and also setting the lineups right, making the rotations. Yeah, I agree with you, and it's crazy that there's such a discrepancy between the top 30 teams.
So I'll hop off, but I think it'll be interesting to see which teams continue to move in that direction. And those that'll move farther away, right? I think organizations like Philly, organizations like the Bulls, even Charlotte and Miami, I think are all teetering on certain points, right? And obviously, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the Eastern Conference side of it as well. But appreciate y'all giving me that forum to rant and rave a little bit. I think it's time for Santa to come to town. I won't give my Bruce Springsteen rendition of it, but it a personal favorite of mine. I think objective here is this is our wish list, right? Things we would really love to see. Can go any which way with this, but Brian, you wanna start us off with what's on the top of your wish list? You know, my wish list is for us to be back on a good page.
You want me to go first?
That's my only hope for Christmas is for us to the animosity to go away.
Perfect. All right. Well, this solves things. So consider our relationship repaired as of now. So I'm bringing a little bit of defense each week to the pod, and for the holidays, for Christmas, I want Santa to bring me a big old bag of defense. And specifically, we're going to talk about the unsung hero of defense, the charge.
Oh, wow. I love it.
So just want to briefly talk about the charge. I mean, we talk about steals, we talk about blocks, we've talked about defensive field goal percentage as the closest defender, we've talked about the deflections. I don't know, we've talked about other things as well, but I think the charge needs the respect it deserves. So for Christmas, I'm just getting a bunch of charges, which, I don't know if I want a bunch of guys running into me, but, that's what a charge is. So that might be what I'm asking for. So I'm looking at the charge this year and last year just to see, let's just set a baseline. On average, most guys don't have a charge drawn in a game. The average is 0.1. So, the average NBA player takes 8, 9, 10 charges the whole season. So it's not a very common stat. But as we know, you draw a charge, it's a turnover. You draw a charge like a dunk, it's you're kind of turning the tables as far as momentum. Big play, everyone's helping you up, and it's just not talked about in the breadth it should be. So a couple charge heroes, a couple charge leaders year after year after year. The guy who led the league in charges in 0.5, so a half a charge a game, and so average is, like I said, 0.1, so that's a big outlier, is Brandon Podziemski. Podziemski? I'll just call him Pods.
I was going to try and slip a guess in, but he's on the floor all the time, dude. All the time.
Yeah, he literally just sleeps on the floor. And our boy flashed him up earlier, JB, Jalen Brunson Stevenson, represent number 2, and then we rounded out with Draymond Green and Kyle Lowry. And so some surprises there, some not surprises, but they really they're up at 0.4, 0.5 charges per game. You look at it again this year, not a mistake. Brandon Podziemski was what I'm going with, still leading the league in charges. He's kind of having a down year, at least on the offensive side of the ball, not shooting well. He's still a spark plug. I think there's still a future for him potentially in the NBA. Jalen Brunson up there in the top 5 again this year. Draymond Green in the top 10. So I want to focus on those 3 guys, Pods, Jalen Brunson, Draymond Green as our charge heroes, and I think they deserve that recognition, that respect. And for Christmas, I want one of them just to run into me for me to draw a charge on.
Are you running into them, or are they running into you?
I mean, I would do either. Maybe I'll run into them. That's probably safer.
I'm not familiar with Pods in terms of his rear end, but
Lowry... It's not big. It's not like the other guys.
It's not? Okay, yeah, I was going to say Lowry, Draymond, and Brunson are packing heat, and that does play a factor when you're taking a charge because you're landing square on that thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those are thick guys, and then Podziemski is not a thick guy, so good for him.
Brian, on Sunday, if you want to guard me, I will just drive really hard every time.
I want you to take a shoulder and just ram it
really
into my
low.
jugular.
Brian.
Yeah. Wherever you want me to hit you, I go the face, I could go the middle of the chest. You just
Brian,
tell
I'm
me
expecting
what.
a call on
I got you
Sunday
covered.
after basketball and letting me know that you took a charge and called an offensive foul.
That would be hysterical. That'll be the day.
So-
That'll be the day.
I think an underrated part of the charge. Oh my lord!
Oh, we're
He's
sharing
the
screen.
screen again.
Oh,
I was
boy.
about to.
All right, go.
I was
You
about
go.
to transition into Pods' future because that's my dream.
Oh, yes, perfect.
That's my dream for Christmas here. Santa, bring me this new NBA that I'm
Mhm.
showing on the screen here. And for those just listening at home, do a brief walkthrough. But effectively, we have a 4-team trade involving the Chicago Bulls, Miami Heat, Golden State Warriors, and Houston Rockets. The kind of the key cogs in this trade are the Warriors getting Jimmy Butler, the Rockets getting Zach LaVine, the Bulls getting Kuminga and Tari Eason and taking on the contract of Andrew Wiggins, and the Miami Heat getting Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. And I think there's some other pieces moving. We got Jeff Green and going to the Bulls to make salary work. Same with Lindy Waters going to the Heat. Golden State also picking up a young Cam Whitmore and Alec Burks, and the Rockets picking up Schroeder, Pods, and G. Santos to make salary work. And why I want this is because I think all of these teams become really fun. Like, every one of them. Starting with, I think, the two marquee ones, the Rockets and the Warriors. The Rockets really need a end-of-game shot creator. And Jimmy's name has been thrown around as a fit, but I actually think Zach gives him a little bit more of an offensive punch. He's a polished version of Jalen Green that wouldn't have to come off the floor. He's a perennial bucket getter. He's a great three-point shooter. He'll add a little floor stretching. I think we saw it against the Thunder. They need another adult in the room that isn't just a defensive stopper, but somebody that can go get a bucket. I think Schroeder fits into a great six-man role. Another vet that can kind of take some of the responsibilities of creation, right, for the second unit. And Pods is a flyer for them, right? You still get the upside of Pods. He's obviously had a down year, but shooting really bad from three. I think it's below 25% this year, but really promising rookie year. Golden State, it's win or go home for them, right? Like, there's very little time left to maximize Curry's window. They have assets on the books right now to go ahead and help that attempt. They will have to pay Kuminga next year. Wiggins' salary continues to go up and makes it even less attractive. And yes, they wanted to hold on to Pods, but he went from untouchable to probably very little value. Miami Heat get off the Jimmy Butler contract. They get a cheap Jalen Green, who they have at a 4-year extension, which is buying into Heat culture and upside for them. That they can train Jalen Green into the superstar they expect him to be, and they take Dylan Brooks on from a salary point of view. Bulls get off the Zach LaVine contract, get the upside of Jonathan Kuminga and Tari Eason, and Wiggins they probably let walk after the contract expires. So this is my dream. I've been working on this for the last 3 years to put together a picture of a potential Bulls future that I would be excited about. But open to people shitting on my dream because, listen, everybody has their own trade fantasies that they want to see play out.
I just think Miami would be like,
My brain's
that's
gonna
tough
explode. This is
for
awesome.
them.
I don't love that. I don't love that at the bottom of the Bulls list it says that we're gonna win 2 more games. I want to win less games.
I think we would have to probably cut
Don't
some
worry.
but that's all right. We don't really need the back of our bench anyway.
Yeah, I don't think the Bulls are winning many games even with this trade. But yeah, like this trade almost seems feasible, except for the Heat. Like, I don't. It's almost like they could buy into Dylan Brooks being like Heat culture, but he's just not that good. And Jalen Green has the upside, but he just doesn't seem like a Heat player,
He's like-
right? Maybe they could.
That's
could
my
turn him
thing.
into
He's
one.
like weirdly cheap now. He signed that extension that makes him actually like somewhat affordable. And it more so than anything, it gets them out of the Jimmy Butler business, right? Jimmy walks in the offseason anyways. This gives them like a piece of upside that you can get excited about and cap space.
It's interesting. I mean, as a Bulls fan, I would do anything to get off that Wiggen contract, so it gives us some more flexibility.
So, anyways, this is what I want for Christmas, guys. Can somebody make it happen?
Yeah, I'll work the phone.
Start making some calls. Mike, what do you want for Christmas?
I got two things. So my good friend Brian showed me the band Lawrence, and I've already listened to their whole discography this week.
It's me.
I'd like to be able to go to a Bulls game, and then they could be the halftime concert. And then actually, I take back what I said. I'd just like to go to a Lawrence concert. So that's one. Two, I'd just like to be able to watch the fucking Bulls. That's not even that much of an ask. I just want to be able to watch them on TV. So I feel like it's pretty simple, right? So
You want to watch your local team play basketball?
I don't understand.
yeah,
I'm lost.
yeah. Is that I don't? Again, it sounds outlandish when I say it out loud, but it feels necessary for me.
I'll make that happen.
I'll
too.
send you
make
the
the call.
Chicago Sports Network link so you can pay. I think it's $39.99 a month for.
Oh no!
access.
Sorry. I want to watch them at a reasonable
okay.
price. I should have. Yeah. I should have been
How
reasonable.
dare you,
know.
as a consumer,
That's the-
want to not pay for something that you didn't have to pay for last year? That's very inappropriate of you.
Yeah, it seems wrong. It seems wrong. I'm actually more excited about Lawrence though in this in my Santa situation here. Thank you, Brian. That was a gift, man. That was a gift.
If they did play a halftime show though, like what a deal! Did he just leave? Is he gone?
He's going to the show right now.
He's on the way.
Quickly
He's
scored
on the way.
tickets and just decided to stop playing.
That's great. That's great.
I missed it. I was reconnecting,
Who's up next?
and then I got just Alex laughing and saying, "That's great. That's great."
Okay,
So, Brian,
I'm
I
happy to
imagine
go.
it's-
Can you guys hear me?
Roger.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do a slight sidebar for my segment, and I'm going to call it Hanukkah Harry's Hanukkah Wholesale, because I think representation matters. And the first night of Hanukkah lands on Christmas Day this year. So this morning I was brainstorming ways to make the NBA experience better for fans, and we've covered a lot of improvements in past weeks on the podcast. And what I landed on was, how do we make the NBA game more financially accessible to fans? Tickets are expensive, but does food and beverages need to be jacked up? And I know I'm not a business man, but I know that when a place has you locked into a location, they have the flexibility to increase pricing. Airports, stadiums, very common. But lo and behold, I did one Google search, and whammy. Today, Matt Ishbia, member of the Tribe, owner of the Phoenix Suns, and CEO of United Wholesale Mortgage, where Hanukkah Harry works as a lender during the offseason, rolled out a $2 value menu for Suns home games. And so I'm going to read off of his tweet where he announced this. He said, "Winning starts with our fans. When I walk the concourse at games, there aren't food options for families who don't want to spend a lot of money. That needs to change. So today, we're rolling out the $2 value menu for all home Suns games." And then he lists that hot dogs went from $9 to $2. Dasani water, $8.50 to $2. Fountain soda, $6.50 to $2. Bag of chips, $7 to $2. Popcorn, $7 down to $2. And I just want to say for Hanukkah, that was a great move, Mr. Ishbia. That's how you win over your fans while also making the rest of the owners look horrible. My Hanukkah wish is that more billionaires follow his lead and put the fans first. And I want to thank the JUS for sponsoring this segment.
I'll tell you who's not going to do that. It's the Chicago Bulls. So
Anything.
I do love
I
that.
absolutely love it.
I didn't know that.
Well, the Bulls aren't going to do it, but Matt Ishbia is terrorizing our local area. I don't know if you've all followed that at all.
What's going on?
He's bought 4 pieces of massive property on Lake Michigan, like just north of the city, and he wants to consolidate all 4 pieces of property, and like the village won't let him do it. He just like took out a huge op-ed in the Chicago Tribune about it.
Where does he want to build?
For himself? Like, what do you
I
mean?
think it's his son. I don't know, Michael, if you've seen that. It's
Wait,
pretty-
time out. Ian.
Yeah.
My dad is taking weekly photos of it, documenting it from the drone because he was paid by someone to do that because they were like,
Yeah, this stuff's like
Yeah.
amazing. I've been following it pretty closely.
Yeah.
Wait, this is amazing. Mr. Melvin,
Wow.
congratulations. We've really intersected your interests tonight.
it's a
And
big
he's
thing.
gone. He's gone. He's
He's
couldn't even
gone.
handle it. He's got to go call his dad.
His exits are timely.
But yeah, I love it. I love it.
Alex, I saw a interesting related article about beer prices in MLB stadiums the other day, and I was actually shocked. The most expensive beer in all of MLB stadiums is Washington Nationals, and it's $15 a beer, which was crazy. There's only 4 other teams that are above $10 a beer. And of course, it's both the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox, and then the Red Sox and Orioles. Only other teams that are above $10 a beer, which is still crazy. The average is $6.98, and then the cheapest is the Rockies, $3 a beer. So if you want to go to, that must be like a
Coors.
It must be a
Coors,
Coors
baby.
thing that they like said, we'll sponsor, but beer's got to be cheap. Michael, you're gonna give me a conniption fit. You okay over there?
Are you doing that on
It's
purpose?
terrible. My internet is killing me. It's
It's killing me
So,
too.
anyways, I would say if you could extend your Hanukkah wish for cheap beer as well, Alex, I think that would be appreciated.
For sure, we'll do.
All right, Mike. You already went. Ian, what do you want for Christmas?
So, as you all know, I was not a huge NBA fan before like high school. I was a huge Bulls fan, but I didn't really follow the rest of the NBA until got to be like 15 or 16. And so, like most of the nation, I was really just encapsulated by the stars of the time. And so, the 2 guys, like everybody else, that I would beg my parents to go see when they'd come to Chicago was LeBron, Cavs, Heat eras, and Kevin Durant, especially when he was on the Thunder. I remember Brian and I went to United Center and watched the Thunder play to go see Kevin Durant when we were in high school. And I'm getting really scared that these guys are just like going to go off into like a shitty sunset here. And so for Christmas, I just want our aging stars to go out with a fight. That's what I'd really like to see. I almost included Curry in here too, but I think Curry came a little bit later. I wanted to just focus on LeBron and Kevin Durant. And I'm not as smart as Jacob in general, but also with the trade machine. And so I'm going to make this up completely. But I did make sure the salaries worked. But that's it. I don't know how the rest of this shit works. So what I want to happen is I want the Lakers to give up completely. And so I want them
Run it
to
through the machine,
trade LeBron to the Houston Rockets for Dylan Brooks, some of the young guys, and some picks. And then I want Anthony Davis to become very upset because he is an outstanding basketball player. I think playing definitely top 10, at times top 5 NBA player this year. He's going to be very upset. He really likes LeBron. He loves winning. And so what he's going to do for the first time in a long time, maybe his entire career, I don't exactly remember how his exit of New Orleans went, he's going to ask out. And the Suns are going to jump on that opportunity. And they're going to send Bradley Real Deal Beal to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis and a few other small pieces of guys that mostly fill out the bottom of their roster to make the salaries match. I did it in the trade monster machine. And we're going to have a newly stacked Western Conference with Houston with LeBron and AD to the Suns, and we're going to get KD and LeBron in the Western Conference Finals, and that's what I want for Christmas.
Wow.
Well thought out.
Also probably impossible, but that's what I want.
I'm gonna Picasso this thing together afterwards, and I'll send it out to the powers that be.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Let's see a screenshot of that. Sucker.
Yeah, same. Because I don't have the patience to mess around with that, but I just think like if we could get one more LeBron KD like heavyweight battle, even if LeBron's only playing like 23 minutes a game or something, like I would be so happy.
That Suns team would be incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, kids, close your ears, but Santa's not real, and neither are these trades. So we might as well have fun with them.
I mean, I can't think of a better player for the Suns. Like, could you imagine upgrading from Real Deal Beal to Anthony Davis? Holy
That's not that much of an upgrade.
Oh my god, man.
I like Real Deal Bill. Say that 5 times fast.
Ryan, do it. He does it before he goes to bed every night. It's like Bloody Mary. If you say it 3 times in the mirror, Bradley Beal just shows up behind you. And his wife's like tweeting at you. She's mad at you specifically for him not making the All-Star team.
Bradley Beal last year averaged 0.11 charges per game.
Is that good?
It's around average, I would say.
Yeah. Well, he is around average.
I want to see where Bradley Beal on the Wizards landed on that chart that you showed earlier, Jacob.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting actually.
Like he would have flanked hard left.
Well, a lot of points and a lot of losses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been bad. It would have been really bad. I don't even think he made the chart. Oh, interesting. All right. Well, it's been another great round of Below the Rim. Lovely chatting with you as always. I think we got some awesome things coming for the rest of the NBA. Well, there's an association. The NBA Association. No, but really appreciate talking to y'all as always. Hope you all enjoy listening out there. Check back next week for the next episode of the Below the Rim podcast. Thanks all.